How does this help protect this?
When you and your family go in the woods and you start a campfire and you collect sticks and grasses, you're collecting fuel. Well, these woods are full of fuel. The fuel grows, some like trees and grasses. Some of the fuel is dead and it's laying on the ground. That fuel allows the fire to burn.
If you have a really a restored forest that has a natural tree density, these forests are adapted to fire. So you'll get an ignition and it'll just crawl through the ground around the bases of the trees.
In the absence of fire, this vegetation builds up. And when it burns at a high severity.
Once the fire gets into the trees, we're talking about flames that are 50 feet, 100 feet in the air, and really consume much more of the vegetation and may kill many of the trees. If those trees die, their roots cannot hold the soil anymore. And so we risk erosion into these reservoirs, which can destroy not only their water quality, but also make maintenance of that reservoir really expensive.
In 2000, the massive Cerro Grande fire cost the city of Los Alamos, New Mexico, $9 million to clean up their water supply.
The Cerro Grande fire occurred just across the Rio Grande from us, and that was a really big wake-up call for water resource managers and land managers in the West. We had a hard look at the impacts of the Cerro Grande fire and how it impacted their surface water supply, and we just didn't want to repeat that here. It basically would have filled our reservoirs with sediment. We would have lost all of our storage capacity. It would have ruined water quality for years and years. And so there was a lot of interest and concern about the Santa Fe watershed, whether it was overstocked with trees.
The forest had not had natural fire in here for almost 100 years, and we had done fire histories that told us that the natural fire pattern was every 7 years.
The potential for catastrophic fire was really high, as it turns out.
When you have so many trees per acre, if you get a lightning strike, and we have lightning storms here every year, the ignition will just take off and it'll burn through the tops of the trees and really turn it into a wasteland. What you see behind me is where we've taken management action to actually remove the trees to their historical natural density.
The way we do that is to start putting fire in little by little. And we do it in a controlled way with the weather conditions that we can choose so that the fire doesn't burn on the day when it's the hottest, driest, and windiest.
Okay. Rolling, holding.
The Nature Conservancy teamed up with the city of Santa Fe to create a water fund to help the U.S. Forest Service conduct controlled burns.
Go ahead, rolling.
Through the water fund, water users invest in the protection of natural lands that supply their water.
We were really able to benefit here in New Mexico from the water funds that have been developed in Latin America. And even though the circumstances there are different, we saw real applicability of the tools and realized that we could apply them here in our own backyard. The water fund is going to save the people of Santa Fe money over the long run. We won't have to worry about the security of our water supply, and we won't have to pay the cost of a wildfire and all of the cleanup that would come after.